When you look at the results of the blood test, are there any specific metrics that are like the true red flags that you're looking for?
Yeah, big ones can be your red blood cell count, or for example your white blood cell count. So yeah, this one is the one that pops up a lot. So within your white blood cell count, you have a differential, which is 5 different markers. So you have your neutrophils, your lymphocytes, your monocytes, your eosinophils, and your basophils. So these are your 5 white blood cells, and they all come back in a percentage. So your neutrophils should be 60%, they're most dominant. And then neutrophils, no, I said neutrophils. Neutrophils, no, neutrophils should be 60%, sorry. Lymphocytes should be 30%. Monocytes should be about 7. Eosinophils should be about 3, and basophils shouldn't even be there. But if they come back at certain different ratios, it can be indicative of you have like certain parasites or bacterial infections. So then that's where you would start looking at doing other tests.
Really, really interesting. So someone's come in, they've had a blood test, and they've now got this whole array, or you've got this whole array of data. So
Yeah.
you start by ultimately looking at red blood count, white blood count.
Yeah.
Would you mentioned there like parasites? Would there be anything else that's kind of majorly affecting those two things?
Yeah, there could be. So dehydration is another big one. So a lot of people are dehydrated as well. So even
Interesting.
your red blood cell count, your hemoglobin will increase, your hematocrit, which is the amount of red blood cells within the blood draw. That will increase as well, just because plasma's decreasing because you have less, you're not as hydrated. So
Wow.
there's things you can tell just by those two. So that's why it's so handy. I think you can just go to your doctor and just ask for a CBC and maybe like a CMP, and just as a checkup. But the only thing is, once you so one of the cool things in functional medicine, they say treat the person, not the paper. So a lot of people, this is why you can get a blood test just ordered over the internet, and it will spit out all the information to you. But if you don't have someone who knows how to interpret the data, you're
Yeah.
literally just going to see, for example, something's low. Maybe you'll be like, so if vitamin D was low, for example, you just say, oh, I'll just supplement with vitamin D. But vitamin D could be low for thousands of reasons.
Okay.
So this
Interesting.
is why you need someone to look at other markers, and then you can start correlating other markers with specific markers. And then it's good to have a very in-depth questionnaire to go along with it. So then you start correlating the paper with the person.
I suppose that's that holistic approach, right? It's actually looking at the bigger picture to decipher what's wrong.
Yeah,
So
that's it.
you mentioned the dehydration. Is that then one of the most common pitfalls for people? Is dehydration?
Yeah, to be honest with you, most people I've dealt with actually are dehydrated. So a lot of people, especially in London, so many of my clients are in London, and it has very hard water.
Yeah.
So a lot of people filter their water because it's so hard. So they filter the water, drink the water, but filtered water, it filters all the bad stuff, but also filters all the minerals. So it filters all the good stuff. So true hydration is actually water and electrolytes. So you need that balance.
So for me, I only would typically take electrolytes if I've done extensive amounts of exercise, or if I've done a long hike or climb or something like that.
Yeah. So
Very
even
rarely would supplement in my like every day. But should
yeah,
that be something that
you can even just put salt back in your water, or just add more salt to your food. So it doesn't have to be an actual electrolyte supplement.
yeah.
Literally, so what I used to do, because when I lived in Canary Wharf, we used to filter all of our water,
Yeah.
and I used to have a rock salt, a Himalayan rock salt, and I dip it into my glass of water, and then there's just a few dunks, and then just take it out.
Interesting.
Just do that
Okay.
each time, just to replenish the nutrients.
Because it's one of those things where everyone's like, oh no, I do drink enough. But actually,
Yeah, sorry, your
we
physiologist says otherwise.
yeah, I like that. I like that. Okay, dehydration for one. I'm like, I've got a drink next to me. I'm just gonna take a sip and just
Every time I say that on
Mhm.
the call to a client like this, I'm like, oh, constantly
Love
sick.
it. Love it. So when you're potentially looking at these blood tests, you're seeing all of these results. We've spoken about dehydration. Where else are people typically making mistakes in their own health and fitness?
Um, Then past that, so many people are just stressed to the gills, and we don't have ways to kind of mitigate stress.
Yeah.
So stress seems to be a big one. But you see that kind of more through saliva testing. So that's more like your cortisol and DHEA ratio.
Okay.
But yeah, stress is a big one because it depletes so many different things in the body. It messes testosterone, it can mess your white blood cell count, it messes everything. So it's crazy. You can actually you can get ulcers within your stomach from just your thoughts, from just thinking.
Wow.
So
So
just finding ways to calm down or get that kind of parasympathetic activity throughout the day is so important. So one of the things when I send my clients, I have a whole menu of parasympathetic activities, so things that calm people down that are like all scientifically based, and I'll send them that like when through our kind of training cycle.
super interesting for me because I'm active, I train, I have a relatively good understanding of nutrition. And one of the things I wanted to talk about today was actually, okay, natural ways to boost your own testosterone because of the magnitude of benefits that can have. So then it's really interesting for me to hear that stress is a big indicator on the decrease of testosterone.
Huge. It's probably one of the biggest killers. So how your sex hormones work? So you have so pregnenolone. Pregnenolone is the like mother of all sex hormones. And then from here, it will either drop down like an anabolic pathway.
Yeah.
So from here, you'll go to like DHEA, androstenedione, you get testosterone, DHT, you do your estrogens, or you can come this way. This will go over to progesterone, and then this drops down to cortisol.
Okay.
So a lot of people are stealing, they're not going down this pathway, they're going straight over to the progesterone and cortisol pathway. So then this is so much more catabolic to the body. So then if you're in the gym and you're training all the time, but you're stressed to the gills, you're going down this pathway, this catabolic pathway, and you're not going down this anabolic pathway. So you're not going to be getting the most out of your sessions. So it's so important to try and get that kind of parasympathetic activity throughout the day, or just calm yourself down.
My name is Samuel Main, and I truly hope that you've got value from today's video. If you have, please do hit like and subscribe down below, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow.